I want to start today by asking you to access a very specific memory. Or, maybe it's a fantasy you're currently living in.
Okay.
You have finally done it. You've broken free. The breakup happened. The boxes are packed. The number is blocked. Or, well, at least you told yourself it's blocked.
Right. You're in that fragile stage.
Exactly. That quiet period where the storm has passed. You're like drinking your coffee in peace. You're starting to remember what it feels like to not walk on eggshells. You're sleeping through the night. And then
The notification.
notification. And it's not just a text, it's a pull. It's this physical sensation in your chest. It's that magnetic force dragging you backward into a chaos you swore you'd never, ever touch again. Today, we are talking about a phenomenon that is so pervasive, so sort of mechanical in its nature, that psychology literally named it after a household appliance. We are talking about hoovering.
It's such an unglamorous name for something that feels so emotionally devastating, isn't it? Named after the Hoover Vacuum Company.
Right.
But the metaphor is just perfect. I mean, it's not about cleaning. It's about the suction. It's about being sucked back into a vacuum of toxicity just when you thought you had escaped.
And we aren't just going to define it today. We are going to dismantle it. Because if you look at the statistics, and I was reading some just harrowing numbers before we started on average, a victim leaves an abusive relationship 7 times before they leave for good.
7 times.
7 times. That means 6 times the Hoover worked.
That is a staggering statistic, and it really speaks to the power of this manipulation. It's not just, oh, I miss them or I'm lonely. It's a calculated psychological strategy that is designed to override your own survival instinct.
Exactly. So our mission today for this deep dive is to create a kind of field guide. We are drawing from some really solid sources. We've got Dr. Susan Albers at the Cleveland Clinic, some deep clinical insights from choosing therapy, and this is the one that I think is going to really stick with people.
I think so too.
We're going to be weaving in a fascinating visceral case study from a Reddit user named Motorbag1657 about a friendship Hoover involving a woman named Leslie. And I want to warn you, the Leslie story, it gets under your skin.
It really does. It's such a powerful illustration that this isn't just a romantic partner issue. It can happen in families, in friendships.
Anywhere there's a power imbalance.
Exactly. But before we get to Leslie and the nightmare of the pickleball incident, which we will absolutely get to, we need to understand the mechanics.
Yes. Let's start with the biology of it, because I think people beat themselves up so much over this. They think, I'm weak. Why did I reply? Why do I even feel this pull? But Dr. Albers and the research suggest there's something almost chemical happening here. Why does the Hoover work so effectively?
It works because of a concept called intermittent reinforcement. And this is the exact same psychological principle that keeps people addicted to slot machines in Las Vegas.
Okay, break that down.
Well, think about it. If you pulled the lever on a slot machine and lost every single time, you'd walk away in 5 minutes. It's boring.
Sure. You'd just be losing money.
And if you won every single time, you'd actually get bored too. There's no thrill.
Right.
But if you lose, and then suddenly you win just once, your brain floods with dopamine, the reward feels so much bigger because of all the losing that came before it.
So the unpredictability is the actual hook. It's the maybe this time feeling.
It's the hook, exactly. So in a toxic relationship, the abuse or the silent treatment or the neglect, that's the losing streak. The Hoover, that sudden text out of the blue saying, I love you, or I miss us, or I was wrong, that is the jackpot. Man. So your brain isn't really responding to the person anymore, it's responding to the relief. It's a dopamine spike designed specifically to counteract the cortisol, the stress hormone, that's been flooding your system during the breakup.
That is such a crucial distinction. You aren't addicted to the person. You're addicted to the relief from the pain that they cause.
Precisely. It's the classic arsonist firefighter. They set your house on fire, and then they show up with a bucket of water and expect you to be grateful. They break your leg, and then they offer you a crutch. And you feel this rush of gratitude for the crutch, completely forgetting who was holding the bat in the first place.
And that explains why it feels so compulsive. It's not a logical decision. It's a craving.
It's a deep neurological craving for relief.
So let's look at what this looks like in the wild. Because I think there's a lot of confusion in modern dating lingo, We hear terms like breadcrumbing and hoovering, and they're almost used interchangeably.
Yeah, they are, and they're not the same thing at all.
Reading Dr. Albers, they feel very, very different in their intent.
They are worlds apart in terms of both intent and danger. Think of breadcrumbing as lazy, It's opportunistic. It's the "Hey stranger" text you get at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday from someone you went on like 3 dates with 6 months ago.
Right. It's super low effort. It's basically just, I'm bored. Are you still an option? Do you still think about me?
Exactly. It's keeping you on the back burner. It's annoying, it's definitely immature, but it's rarely malicious in a really calculated way. It's
Yeah.
ambivalence.
Okay. So how is hoovering different?
Hoovering is not ambivalent at all. It is highly specific. It is deliberate. It happens in established relationships where there is a clear history of a power dynamic, of control. And the Hoover is triggered not by boredom, but by a threat.
The threat of the victim actually leaving and being happy.
Yes. When the abuser senses that you are actually moving on, you posted a photo where you look genuinely happy, you stopped checking their social media stories, you changed your route to work so you don't pass their building, that is when the Hoover starts. It is a direct reaction to their loss of control over you.
So breadcrumbing is, I might want you later, and hoovering is, you are not allowed to leave me.
That is the perfect way to frame it, and that's why hoovering so often escalates. If you ignore a breadcrumb text, the person usually just moves on to the next person on their list.
Right, they just shrug and text someone else.
Yeah. If you ignore Hoover, it often gets louder, more frantic, more intense, because you are defying their control.
Let's talk about that escalation, the roller coaster dynamic.
Yeah.
The Choosing Therapy article lays this out really clearly as a cycle. It always starts with the lure.
The lure, yes. This is the love bombing phase, but it's tailored specifically for the breakup. It's the big "I've changed" speech.
Oh, I've heard this one.
And they will say exactly what you complained about for years. It's uncanny. If you said they never listened, they will suddenly say, "I've been going to therapy to learn how to be a better listener." If you said they were too angry, they'll say, "I've started an anger management course."
Customized bait. It's designed to hit your deepest wish for the relationship.
It is. And because you are starved for that validation, for that acknowledgement that you weren't crazy, you take it. That's the climb up the roller coaster hill, the hope.
Okay, so you take the bait. That's the re-engagement part of the cycle.
Yeah. And for a week, maybe 2 weeks, it is bliss. It's the honeymoon phase all over again. They're on their best behavior. That's the dopamine hit. That's the jackpot you were waiting for. You think, it worked. They're finally better.
But gravity always wins on a roller coaster. You have to come down.
You always have to come down. And then comes the disappointment. The mask slips. They made a snide comment. They ignore you for a day. The old patterns start to creep back in, slowly at first, and then all at once.
That leads to the final stage, confusion.
This is the most damaging part. Because you think, but they said they changed, they were doing so well. And this is where the self-blame kicks in. You start thinking, I must have done something to ruin the progress. This is my fault.
And that cycle weakens you every single time you go through it. It erodes your self-esteem, your trust in your own judgment. So by the 7th time, like that statistic said, you don't even think you can leave anymore. You feel trapped.
That's the goal of the cycle, the erosion of the self.
I want to pivot now to the who behind this. Because, normal people, and by normal I mean people with reasonably healthy empathy and emotional regulation, they don't do this. If I break up with someone, I might be sad. I might miss them. I might even send a regretful text. But I don't try to psychologically trick them into coming back just so I can punish them for leaving.
Right. A healthy attempt at reconciliation is about two people trying to solve a problem together. Hoovering is about one person trying to secure a resource. And this brings us, inevitably, to the cluster B personality disorders.
Okay, so we see this term all over the internet. Narcissist, borderline, sociopath, histrionic. The sources link these disorders heavily to hoovering behavior. But I don't want to just list the DSM-5 criteria. I want to understand the internal experience. If we could tap into the inner monologue of these types, what are they actually thinking when they send that hoovering text?
That's a great way to explore it because the motivations are actually quite different, even if the tactic looks the same on the outside. So let's start with narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. Their core wound is a deep, pervasive sense of shame and emptiness. They need what's called narcissistic supply. That's admiration, attention, validation, even negative attention, just to feel real. They're like a car with a leaky gas tank.
So when they hoover, what is the voice in their head saying?
The voice isn't, "I miss her so much, she was the love of my life." The voice is, my tank is empty. Who do I know that will fill it up quickly and reliably? Oh, she always answers. She always falls for it. It's entirely utilitarian.
So it's not about the person at all.
It's about the function the person serves. They feel entitled to your time, your energy, your attention. So the Hoover from someone with NPD is often grandiose or even arrogant. It might sound like, I'm willing to forgive you for leaving, or you know you'll never find anyone as good as me.
Wow. It's all about their ego, not about the relationship.
100%. Now let's pivot to borderline personality disorder, BPD. This is very different. The core wound here isn't emptiness in the same way. It's a frantic, terrifying fear of abandonment. They often lack something called object constancy, which is a fancy way of saying if you aren't physically with them or in contact, they feel like you don't exist. Or worse, that you hate them and have abandoned them forever. There's no middle ground.
So their inner monologue when they hoover is just panic.
Absolute terror. The voices, please don't leave me. I will die. I can't be alone. I will do anything. I am drowning and you are my life raft. The Hoover from a person with BPD often looks like a crisis. It's desperate. It's the I'm at the hospital text or the I can't breathe without you email. It pulls on your heartstrings, not your ego.
That feels so much harder to ignore, especially for empathetic people.
Much, much harder. Because you feel like you're abandoning someone in their hour of need. You feel like you're saving a life by responding.
Okay, so what about the next one? Antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, which we might know better as sociopathy or psychopathy.
Right, this is the darker end of the spectrum. The inner monologue here isn't about supply or fear, it's about power and winning. Winning, the voices. She thinks she can leave me. I decide when this is over, not her. The Hoover can be menacing, it can be threatening, or it can be a cold, calculated game. They might hoover you just to see if they still can, just to prove they can make you jump when they say jump. It's about dominance and control for its own sake.
Chilling.
Yeah.
And the last one, histrionic, HPD.
The monologue is very simple. Look at me. That's it. Why is the spotlight off of me? The story should be about me. Their Hoover will be theatrical. A massive public declaration on social media, a dramatic scene at your workplace. They need to be the protagonist of your life, and when you try to write them out of the script, they create a huge dramatic plot twist to get back in.
So just to recap, we have fill my tank for NPD, save me from drowning for BPD,
Yep.
submit to me for ASPD,
Right.
and watch me for HPD.
That's a perfect summary. And on the receiving end of all of this, unfortunately, we have the vulnerable victim. And Dr. Albers points out something really tragic here. The people who are most susceptible to being hoovered are often the kindest, most empathetic people.
The fixers, the healer.
The vixers, yes. The
Yeah.
forgivers. And people who tend to project their own conscience onto others. You think, well, I wouldn't say I love you unless I really meant it, so he must mean it too. You assume everyone is playing by the same rules of honesty and integrity.
You're playing chess, and you assume they're also playing chess, but what they're actually doing is lighting the board on fire.
And that projection of your own goodness is exactly what gets you trapped. They count on it.
I want to bring this into the real world now because it can feel a bit abstract. We have this Reddit case study from the user Motorbag1657. Let's call her OP for original poster and her ex-best friend Leslie. The story is a masterclass in the friendship hoover.
It is, and it's so important because it highlights the insidious nature of female friendship abuse, which, we don't talk about nearly enough.
No, we don't. So let's set the scene. OP and Leslie are, or were, best friends. Leslie, according to the OP, is diagnosed with BPD and has strong narcissistic traits. Then Leslie finds a new favorite person, a woman named Gertrude. And just like that, Leslie discards OP.
The discard is brutal.
It is, but the specific way she does it. Let's talk about the pickleball incident, because this is so telling.
This detail really stuck out to me, too. It's so petty and so cruel.
So OP and Leslie used to play tennis together. That was their thing, a shared ritual. Then, for Leslie's birthday, this new woman Gertrude buys Leslie a whole pickleball set. And suddenly, Leslie drops tennis with OP completely and only plays pickleball with Gertrude and posts about it constantly.
It's symbolic replacement. It's not about the sport. It's a very clear public message. You have been replaced. Our special ritual is now my special ritual with her. It's designed to devalue the entire history of the friendship.
And then comes the punishment silence. Leslie basically ghosts OP, ignores her in person. But, and this is the part that just made me so angry, She still demands that OP send her daily texts so that Leslie can emotionally dump all her problems on her.
That is the narcissistic supply aspect we were just talking about. It's pure objectification. I don't want to be your friend, but I still require your function. She didn't want a peer. She wanted an unpaid therapist she could also control.
So OP finally wakes up. She sees the light. She realizes the bestie memes Leslie is posting with Gertrude on Instagram are actually a form of triangulation. They're being posted specifically to make OP jealous and hurt.
And then Leslie's brother confirms it, right? He tells OP that Leslie has a history of this, of gaslighting and using people.
He does. So OP goes gray rock. She just stops reacting. She stops giving Leslie that energy. And that is when the vacuum cleaner turns on.
Because the supply was cut, the fuel line was severed, OP stopped feeding the monster, and the monster got hungry.
Let's use Leslie's behavior now to unpack Section 3, the toolkit of manipulation. Because Leslie, I swear, goes through almost every single tactic in the book. It's like a checklist.
She really does. It's almost a perfect case study.
Let's start with what the sources call the nice tactics, the lure. You have the apology tour. But the sources are really clear on how to spot a fake apology. I want to dissect the actual grammar of a Hoover apology.
This is such a vital skill to learn. A real, genuine apology has 3 parts. I did X, which is taking ownership. X was wrong because it hurt you in this way, which was empathy. And here's what I will do to prevent X from happening again, which is the commitment to change.
So accountability, remorse, and a plan for change.
Right. A Hoover apology, on the other hand, almost always contains the word if or but. I'm sorry if you felt hurt.
Which immediately shifts the problem from your actions to my feelings. My feelings are the problem, not what you did.
Exactly. Or the other classic, I'm sorry I yelled, but you were pushing my buttons. That is a justification disguised as an apology. It's what we call a non-apology. It's a way of saying, I'm sorry without taking any actual responsibility.
In the Reddit story, Leslie doesn't even apologize herself. She sends her brother a classic flying monkey to do her bidding. And he asks OP, what if she gets you a gift?
Ah, the gift tactic. This is a very common, nice tactic. It's purely transactional. It says, I will buy your compliance. I will purchase your forgiveness. It's a way to bypass all the hard emotional work of behavioral change with a material object.
And OP's reaction to the story was just perfect. She said something like, a gift can't repair a breach of trust.
Which is the absolute truth. You can't put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
So when the nice stuff doesn't work, when the gift is rejected, we move to the nasty tactics. And this is where the gaslighting comes in. Hard.
Gaslighting is a direct attack on your reality. It's not just lying, it's the attempt to convince you that your own perception of events is flawed, that you're crazy, that you're misremembering.
And in a Hoover situation, this often looks like pretending everything is fine, just acting as if the breakup or the conflict never even happened.
Yes, and this brings us to the Hi Mom incident in the Leslie story. I honestly got chills reading this part. It's so audacious.
It's like a moment from a horror movie. It really is.
It is.
So to set the scene, OP has been no contact with Leslie for a full year. A whole year has passed. She's walking down the street with her mother.
Well,
Leslie sees them from across the way, runs up, completely ignores OP, gives the mother a huge hug, and cheerfully says, Hi, Mom. Like, they're all still the best of friends.
okay, let's unpack why this is so diabolically manipulative. This is aggressive social engineering. By acting perfectly normal and friendly in front of a third party, in this case, the mother Leslie traps the OP.
How so?
Well, what can OP do if she screams, "Get away from us, you monster," who looks crazy in that situation?
OP does. She looks unhinged. She looks like she's holding a grudge against this sweet, friendly girl.
Precisely. Leslie is weaponizing politeness and social norms. It forces the victim to either participate in the lie that everything is fine or break the social contract and cause a huge, uncomfortable scene. It is a power move of the highest order, designed to overwrite the reality of the abuse in public. It's a way of saying, I decide what the reality is, and in my reality, we are still friends, and you are the problem.
It's completely delusional, but it's so calculated. And then, of course, there's the smear campaign. Leslie runs around telling all their mutual friends that OP is just holding a grudge.
That's the narrative spin. It's a preemptive strike. It minimizes years of abuse into a simple personality conflict. Oh, she's just being stubborn, or she's just too sensitive. It serves to isolate the victim. If you can convince everyone that I'm crazy before I get a chance to tell them that you hit me, no one is going to listen to me. They'll just see my story as more evidence of my craziness.
And then there's the proximity stalking. I mean, this is made worse by the fact that they live in the same apartment building. But the pool incident was something else.
This was purely territorial. It was a performance. Leslie brings her new group of friends, including Gertrude, and deliberately sits directly in OP's line of sight at the pool.
And then leaves, and then comes back.
That's the key part. That's what tells you it's intentional. Leaving and coming back ensures multiple forced interactions. It's a form of peacocking. It's a nonverbal way of screaming, "Look at me with my new supply. Look how happy and popular I am without you. But also look at me looking at you to make sure you're looking at me." It's triangulation played out in physical space.
Opie had this really profound realization in her post. She asks herself the question we all ask. Why won't she just leave me alone? And she answers it herself. She says, it's about image management and avoiding shame.
That is the aha moment. That's the key to the whole thing. If Leslie just lets OP go and live her life in peace, then Leslie has to sit with the silence. And in that silence, the uncomfortable truth might creep in. I was a bad friend. I hurt someone.
And she can't handle that.
She cannot handle that shame. But if she can keep poking OP, if she can force OP to engage, even negatively, she can create a new story for herself. She can tell herself, see, we're still interacting. It's just complicated. It's a dynamic. It keeps the shame at bay. The victim becomes a tool.
It's using the victim as a shield against their own self-hatred.
Perfectly put. That's exactly what it is.
There is one last category of tactics we haven't touched on deeply yet, and it's arguably the most dangerous.
Yeah.
The sources call them the crisis tactics, the trap.
This is where the line between emotional manipulation and a genuine medical emergency can get incredibly blurry, and abusers know this and exploit it mercilessly.
It's the I'm sick text, the my mom just died call, the I lost my job and I'm getting evicted email.
The Christmas cancer?
The what?
It's a dark term used in abuse support groups. It refers to the sudden, dramatic medical emergency that always seems to happen right around a major holiday or an anniversary or your birthday, exactly when you were trying to pull away and set a boundary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's chillingly specific.
It works because it exploits our most basic empathy. How can I maintain no contact when he might have a tumor? It feels monstrous to ignore someone who might be dying. But the ultimate crisis tactic, the nuclear option, is the suicide threat.
We need to be very, very clear on this part.
We absolutely do. Threatening self-harm or suicide if you leave or if you don't reply is the most extreme form of emotional abuse. It is holding the entire relationship hostage with a human life. And your first instinct, of course, is to rush over there, talk them down, to save them.
But the experts, all of our sources say, don't do that.
They say, take the threat itself 100% seriously, but do not handle it personally. If your ex texts you, I'm going to end it all if you don't come over, you do not go over. You call 988. You call the police for a wellness check. You send trained professionals.
But why not go yourself? It feels so cold not to.
Because if you go yourself, you have just taught them the most dangerous lesson of all. Threatening suicide gets me immediate face-to-face time with you. You have powerfully reinforced the behavior. You have to break the link between their threat and your presence. Professionals are equipped to actually help them with their crisis. You, by going, can only enable the cycle of abuse and put yourself in a potentially dangerous situation.
That is incredibly heavy, but it makes perfect sense. It's the only way to actually be safe. Which leads us directly to Section 5, Strategies for Survival. How do we actually get out of the vacuum? The sources are unanimous on this. The gold standard is no contact.
Total. Absolute, uncompromising, no contact.
But let's be real for a second. No contact is excruciating. It feels like you're going through drug withdrawal.
It is withdrawal. Remember what we said about the dopamine and intermittent reinforcement? When you block them, you are cutting off your supply of the drug. Your body will physically ache. You will feel an intense, overwhelming urge just to check their Instagram, just for a little hit, just to see if they're suffering without you.
People call it pain shopping.
Exactly. And you have to treat it like a detox. Dr. Albert suggests blocking them on every conceivable platform. Phone, email, all social media, Venmo, Spotify, LinkedIn, everything.
But what happens when you do that? Because I feel like that's the moment you poke the bear. That's when the monster really wakes up.
This is a critical concept called the extinction burst.
Okay, unpack that for us.
Imagine a toddler in a grocery store who wants candy. They start whining, you ignore them, Do they stop whining immediately?
No, of course not. They start screaming.
They scream louder, they throw themselves on the floor, they kick their legs. That massive spike in the bad behavior right before it stops, that burst is
Right.
the extinction burst. They are trying one last maximum effort attempt to get the reward before the behavior finally goes extinct.
So when you go no contact, you should expect the hoovering to get worse before it gets better.
Yes, you must expect it. They will ring your doorbell at 3 a.m. They will call you from blocked numbers. They will contact your boss or your mother. You have to ride out the burst without giving in. Because if you give in during the burst, if you finally answer the phone on the 50th call, you have just taught them that the new price of your attention is 50 calls. Next time, they won't start with one call. They'll start at 50.
That is terrifying, but it's also incredibly empowering because it means if the behavior gets worse, the no contact is working. It means they're panicking.
Exactly. The escalation is a sign that you are winning the war, not losing it. It's the sound of their control breaking.
Now, in the Reddit story, the OP lived in the same building as Leslie. She couldn't do total physical no contact. She had to use a different strategy, the gray rock method.
Gray rock is the backup generator for when no contact isn't fully possible, like with a co-parent or, in this case, a neighbor. The goal is to become as boring, uninteresting, and unyielding as a plain gray rock.
Give us a script. Let's say Leslie walks up to OP in the hallway and says, "Why are you ignoring me? This is so childish." What does a gray rock say back?
A gray rock gives a short, factual, uninteresting answer in a flat tone with no eye contact. So, I've just been busy. That's it.
What if she escalates? What if she says, "You're such a bitch for ruining our friendship after everything I did for you"?
I'm sorry you feel that way. And you keep walking. You offer them absolutely nothing to latch onto. No defense, no anger, no tears, nothing. You are starving the vampire of the emotional reaction it needs to survive.
There's an acronym to remember here, isn't there? JDE.
Yes. Do not justify, argue, defend, or explain. Any of those actions is a form of engagement. It tells the abuser that there's still a debate to be had.
I want to touch on managing the environment too. The flying monkeys, like Leslie's brother. What do you do when the abuser's friends or family start calling you on their behalf?
You have to set a firm, clear boundary with the messenger. You say, I appreciate you reaching out, but my relationship with Leslie is private and I'm not going to discuss it. If you continue to bring her up, I will have to end this conversation. And then you have to be willing to hang up the phone.
And choosing therapy makes a really good point about taking the high road. They advise against bad-mouthing the Hoover to everyone who will listen.
This is strategic as much as it is moral. If you run around town telling everyone how crazy and awful they are, you are just feeding the drama. You are participating in the smear campaign just from the other side. Silence is dignified. Silence makes other people wonder, wait a minute, he's acting completely unhinged, but she's just living her life with grace. The contrast between your behavior and theirs will eventually reveal the truth more powerfully than any words you could say.
I want to pause here for just a moment for a bit of introspection, because we have listeners who are very self-aware, and they might be sitting here thinking, wait a second, I texted my ex last week because I was sad and I missed him. Am I a Hooverer? Am I a narcissist?
That is a very brave and important question, and the fact that you are even asking it almost certainly means the answer is no.
Why is that?
Because hoovering is about intent. Reaching out to an ex because you genuinely miss them and want to see if a healthy reconnection is possible is human. It's normal. It becomes hoovering when the intent is to control, to confuse, to punish, or to extract supply. Ask yourself this question. If my ex replied and said, I've moved on and I'm happy now, please don't contact me again, how would I honestly react?
So if the answer is, I'd be heartbroken, but I'd respect their boundary and leave them alone, then you're probably not hoovering.
Right, you're just a person with feelings. But if your honest answer is, I'd show up at their job to prove them wrong, or I'd text their mother and tell her how cruel her son is, or I'd post sad songs on my Instagram story hoping they'd see it, then you are crossing the line into hoovering. It all boils down to respect for the other person's autonomy. A hoover does not respect their target's right to say no.
That's the key. Autonomy. The right to leave.
Before we wrap this all up, I just want to emphasize the legal side of this. The Cleveland Clinic article is very clear on this point. If the hoovering behavior escalates into stalking, threats, or harassment, like Leslie repeatedly showing up at the pool, or the brother sending weird, persistent messages, you must document everything.
Take screenshots. Write down dates, times, what was said.
Build a paper trail. You might need it for a restraining order or a protective order down the line. Don't minimize the potential danger just because you used to love this person. Your safety has to come first.
We've covered so much ground today, from the dopamine hits of that toxic roller coaster to the inner monologues of the narcissist, from dissecting fake apologies to learning the gray rock
It
defense.
really is a full survival kit.
I want to go back to that central image of the vacuum cleaner, the sound of it, that whir. The function of a vacuum is to suck up dirt, to suck up debris.
Debris, that's how the Hoover sees you. Not as a whole person with feelings and a future, but as matter to be consumed to make them feel clean.
That's the single biggest takeaway for me from all of this. When Leslie hugged OP's mom, when your ex texts you I love you at 2 in the morning after months of silence, it is not about affection, it's about anxiety. It is always, always about their anxiety.
It's about them trying to plug a hole in their own ego. You are just the plug.
So I want to leave you, our listener, with this final thought. We spend so much time and energy analyzing their texts. What did he mean by that emoji? Why does she post that specific song? We become these unwilling scholars of their behavior. But the most powerful thing you can do is stop studying them and start studying yourself. Why does the vacuum work on you? What is the void in you that they are promising to fill?
Heal that void yourself, and the vacuum completely loses its power over you.
Exactly. When you are full, you don't need their crumbs. And sometimes the loudest, most powerful, most devastatingly final thing you can say to a Hooverer is absolutely nothing at all.
Silence is the ultimate boundary.
Thank you for going deep with us today. Keep your eyes open, check your locks, and always, always trust your gut. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Take care of yourselves.